The city of Aurelia stretched as far as the eye could see, its towers piercing the clouds and neon lights painting the streets below in colors that never faded. Above it all, the watchers observed silently, invisible eyes that saw everything, yet never acted. Humans whispered legends about these godlike beings, claiming they decided the fate of cities, nations, and even individuals. But no one had ever seen them interfere directly. For most citizens, life went on under the hum of machinery, the glow of screens, and the constant surveillance that was supposed to keep them safe. But beneath this veil of normality, shadows stirred. Kyle Draven, a hunter with a sharp gaze and a restless mind, leaned against the cold steel of a rooftop. His eyes scanned the streets below, watching the crowd for anything unusual. He had seen things most humans refused to believe, strange silhouettes that moved too fast, creatures that vanished before anyone could raise an alarm. He had learned early that the Watchers did not intervene, no matter the threat. Humans had to protect themselves. The news had been quiet lately, but Kyle had noticed the patterns. People were disappearing in clusters, always near old ruins, abandoned factories, and forgotten alleys. The authorities dismissed it as accidents, crime, or urban legends, but Kale knew better. Something hunted in the shadows, something intelligent. Tonight, he was not alone. Beside him stood Leora Venn, her hair tied back in a messy braid, eyes glowing with the reflection of her portable scanner. A tech genius, she could detect patterns, track anomalies, and hack surveillance feeds faster than the city's own system could respond. "We have movement near Sector 17, Leora whispered, pointing at the screen of her device. A flickering red dot hovered over a dark alley. "Something big and fast." Kale nodded, his jaw tight. "Then we hunt." Behind them, Rin Kaleson adjusted the straps of his armor. Once a soldier, he now fought for survival in a city that seemed to forget the meaning of fear. Every movement, every breath, was a practice in patience and vigilance. The trio descended the rooftop silently, their boots making no sound on the metal beams. Streets of Aurelia were eerily quiet for a night in a city that never slept. The neon lights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. Kale crouched at the entrance of the alley. The air was thick with a metallic smell, old blood, rust, and decay. He tightened his grip on his hunting spear, a weapon designed for speed and precision. "Do you feel that?" he asked. Leora tilted her head, scanning the sensors. "It's watching us. Not just moving, observing. It's calculating." Rin's hand rested on the hilt of his blade. "Then let's make it regret that choice." A low growl echoed from the shadows. It was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried a chilling promise. Kale's eyes narrowed. Out of the darkness, a figure emerged, tall, slender, with limbs that moved in ways humans were not meant to. Its skin shimmered faintly, like a shadow stretching in the wrong direction. Eyes glowed a dull red, fixed on the hunters. Kale lunged forward, spear aimed, but the creature reacted faster. It twisted in the air, avoiding his strike with impossible speed, then struck with claws that could tear steel. Rin jumped back, slashing with his blade, but the monster was already behind him, moving as if it could predict every move before it happened. Leora deployed a small device, emitting bright pulses of light. The creature recoiled, growling in frustration. "It's sensitive to light," she shouted. "Keep it in the glow." For hours, the battle continued. Kyle realized that strength alone was useless. Every attack had to be planned, every step calculated. The humans had to rely on intelligence, teamwork, and adaptability, qualities no monster could replicate. Finally, Kale tricked the creature into a narrow alley, where its speed became a disadvantage. Using a combination of his spear and Rin's blade, they trapped it against a wall. Leora activated an energy net, binding the monster's limbs. It hissed, snarled, but could not escape. Kyle stared at it, breathing heavily. "We win because we plan. We think, we adapt. Not because we're stronger." The monster dissolved into shadows, slipping through the net with one final, haunting screech. Kale's heart pounded. The victory was small, temporary, but it was proof. Humans could fight back. Humans could survive. Later, in the hidden base beneath the city, Kale spread maps across a table. Pins marked the locations of the disappearances, patterns emerging in the lines between them. "They're not random," Kale said. "These creatures have territories, hunting grounds, and we're learning them. One by one we can find them, track them, and stop them." Leora's fingers flew over her keyboard. "I've been cross-referencing city feeds and anomaly reports. There's more than one, much more, and some are smarter than this one. They're evolving." Rin leaned back, arms crossed. "Then we evolve too. Learn their patterns, anticipate their moves. Humans survive because we adapt. That's something monsters can't do. Not like us." Kale nodded. "We're hunters now, not just survivors, and the city doesn't know it yet. But we will protect it. From the shadows, like them. But with purpose, not chaos." Outside, the city thrummed with life, oblivious to the monsters hiding in its alleys, beneath its streets, and in its abandoned factories. Above, the watchers observed silently. For the first time in centuries, some of them leaned closer, intrigued by the humans who dared to fight, not with raw power, but with cunning, bravery, and unity. As Kale gazed at the skyline, a flicker of determination ignited in his eyes. He did not know how many monsters there were, or how many humans would be lost in the fight ahead. But he knew one thing with certainty. As long as humans could think, plan, and fight together, the monsters would never win. That night, Kale, Leora, and Rin vanished into the shadows once more, hunting not just for survival, but for the proof that humanity, even under silent gods, could rise above any threat. And somewhere in the alleys of Aurelia, the monsters watched back, realizing they had underestimated humans for the first time. The morning light barely reached the streets of Aurelia, but Kale Draven and his team were already moving through the shadows. The events of last night had left their mark. Blood on their clothes, scratches on their arms, and a deep understanding that the monsters were no ordinary predators. These creatures were intelligent, fast, and ruthless, yet Kale knew humans had something monsters never could: strategy, teamwork, and heart. They gathered in their hidden base beneath the city, a labyrinth of tunnels forgotten by time. Old machinery hummed in the background, and maps of the city's districts were pinned along the walls. Leora crouched over her scanner, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "I've been analyzing the attacks," she said. "There's a pattern, not random disappearances. They are hunting routes, territories, almost like a twisted game of chess." Kale rubbed his chin. "Chess, right? That means we need to think ahead, anticipate their moves, not just react." Rin leaned against a rusted pipe. "So, we become smarter than the monsters. That's our advantage." Kale nodded. "Exactly. They are fast, but we can plan. We can trap them. We can fight back with more than brute strength." Their first step was to explore the ancient ruins beneath Sector 17, where the first disappearances had occurred. These ruins were old even before Aurelia had been built. A network of tunnels, chambers, and collapsed halls, remnants of civilizations long forgotten. Rumors said monsters had walked these tunnels for centuries, feeding in secret, and only the bravest, or the foolish, ever dared enter. Kale led the way, spear in hand. Leora followed closely, holding a portable scanner. Rin watched the shadows, senses alert for the slightest movement. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay, yet Kale felt alive. This was the kind of hunt humans were born for, not chasing prey, but understanding it, anticipating it, and overcoming it. They moved slowly, carefully. Every step could be the difference between life and death. "This way," Kale whispered, pointing to a faint symbol carved into the wall. Leora scanned it. "These markings, they're ancient," she said. "Some kind of warning, maybe rituals, or territorial signs. Either way, it's proof the monsters have been here a long time." Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the chamber. The team froze. Shadows shifted along the walls, and a figure emerged from the darkness. It was smaller than the one they had fought last night, but faster, moving with unnatural grace. Its eyes glowed like embers, studying them carefully. Kyle tightened his grip on his spear. Remember, light traps teamwork. No solo moves. The creature lunged. Kale sidestepped, striking its flank, but it vanished into the shadows with a speed that made it seem like it had melted into the walls. Leora activated a light pulse, revealing the monster for a brief moment. Rin swung his blade, narrowly missing it. They realized something crucial. These monsters adapted quickly. Every attack they had learned was met with a new reaction. Kale's mind raced. Humans had intelligence, but they needed experimentation to understand their prey fully. Hours passed as they carefully mapped the tunnels, setting traps and testing the monster's reactions. Kale observed patterns. The creatures avoided light, were cautious in open areas, but incredibly bold in narrow passages. Their attacks were calculated, testing humans' limits. "This is more than hunting," Leora said quietly. "It's like they're studying us too." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Maybe they are, but we have something they don't: imagination. We can plan, improvise, and trick them." By late evening, they cornered a small creature in a collapsed hall. Using a combination of light pulses, tripwires, and synchronized attacks, they trapped it. It struggled, snarling, but could not escape. Kyle looked at it, breathing heavily. "Humans fight smart," he said. "That's why we survive." They studied the creature, noting its behavior, its reactions to different stimuli, and even its feeding patterns. Leora took careful notes. "If we understand them, we can predict them. That's how humans always survive, by learning faster than the threat in front of them." Rin nodded. "And if we combine strength, skill, and knowledge, we become unstoppable." As night fell over the city above, Kyle's team made a critical discovery. Beneath the ruins, in a hidden chamber, they found a wall covered with ancient carvings. The figures depicted humans and monsters, locked in battles, sometimes working together. Symbols of strange beings, the Watchers, hovered above them. Kyle traced a finger over the carvings. These Watchers. They've been here longer than humans. And they've been observing everything. Leora's eyes widened. "Look at this pattern. The Watchers didn't stop the monsters. They let them roam, maybe to see how humans would respond. This is a test." Rin slammed his fist on the wall. "A test? We're just pray for them?" Kale shook his head. "No, they aren't testing our strength. They're testing our mind, our courage, our ability to survive against impossible odds. And that is where humans shine." They realized the magnitude of what they had discovered. The Watchers, godlike beings who saw all, were silent observers. They did not intervene, not because humans were weak, but because humans could rise to challenges in ways no other species could. Kyle smiled grimly. "This changes everything. We are not just fighting monsters, we are proving ourselves to the Watchers. Every hunt, every victory, every life we save is proof that humans can survive, no matter what walks in the shadows." Over the following days, the team expanded their operations. They recruited skilled individuals from the city's fringes, former soldiers, engineers, and even street fighters who had survived encounters with monsters. Each new recruit learned quickly. Humans' greatest strength was adaptation and ingenuity. Kyle and his team began training recruits in strategy, trap setting, and observation. They taught them to move silently, analyze behavior, and predict attacks. Every hunt became a lesson, every victory a step toward mastery. Meanwhile, the monsters grew more cautious. They recognized humans were learning, adapting, and hunting back. Some avoided areas entirely. Others tested humans more aggressively. Kale noted the changes. "The smarter they get, the smarter we must become," he said. "We're not just surviving, we're teaching them their limits." One night, Leora discovered a strange anomaly in the city's underground water system. Sensors indicated movement far faster than any human could achieve. Kale led a team to investigate. moving through flooded tunnels, debris, and shadows that seemed alive. In the deepest chamber, they found something unimaginable. A massive creature, far larger than any they had faced, with multiple limbs and eyes that glowed like molten gold. It was unlike anything they had seen before. Its presence radiated intelligence, almost curiosity. Kyle whispered, "This is the Alpha, the leader. Everything we've seen before was just scouts." The creature observed them, then vanished into the water with a speed that defied belief. Kale's heart pounded. It knows we are here. It knows we're learning. And it's waiting for the right moment to strike. Back at their base, the hunters realized the stakes had changed. Humans were no longer fighting for survival alone. They were engaged in a war of wits, courage, and resilience. Every decision, every strategy, every hunt would determine not just their lives, but the city's future. Kyle addressed his team. The monsters are evolving, but so are we. Humans survive because we learn, because we adapt, and because we never give up. These creatures are dangerous, but they are predictable if we watch, plan, and act together. And one day, we will show them that humans are not prey. We are hunters. The city above slept, unaware of the monsters lurking below and the humans rising against them. Shadows moved silently in the alleys, watching, testing, learning. But for the first time in centuries, the hunters of Aurelia were not afraid. They were ready. The Watchers, observing from their distant vantage, leaned closer. They had seen many species, many civilizations rise and fall. Yet something about these humans intrigued them. Not their strength, not their speed, but their ability to think, to adapt, to fight when the odds were impossible. Kale looked out at the darkened streets through a cracked window. "Tonight," he said softly, "we hunt not just for survival, but for proof. Proof that humans, even under silent gods, can rise above anything, and we will not fail." And as the city held its breath, the first real human hunt beneath Aurelia had begun. Weeks passed since Kale Draven and his team had first descended into the ruins beneath Aurelia. The city above continued its normal rhythm. Neon lights glimmering, vehicles moving like glowing rivers, people going about their lives, oblivious to the danger lurking beneath their feet. But below, the hunters were growing stronger, smarter, and more determined. Kale stood at the entrance of their underground base, looking at the team gathered before him. Faces lined with exhaustion, eyes glowing with determination. Every one of them had faced monsters, and every one of them had survived. Their training had been grueling, endless nights of observing, planning, and setting traps. But the results were clear. They were becoming a force the monsters could no longer ignore. "Listen up," Kale began, his voice steady but commanding. "We've learned a lot about these creatures. We know their territories, their hunting patterns, and their weaknesses. But they are evolving. They're getting smarter, faster, and more unpredictable. If we want to survive and thrive, we need to rise above simple attacks. We need coordination, strategy, unity." Rin Kaleson stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his blade. "We've been hunting in small teams so far. That's not enough. The monsters are learning too. It's time we spread our network across the city, watch their movements, predict their attacks, and strike together." Leora Ven, her scanner glowing in the dim light, added, "I've been mapping their patterns. There are clusters, zones, and key points they use to move unseen. If we divide the city into sectors and assign hunters, we can cover more ground. We can trap them more efficiently. We can control the shadows they hide in." Kale nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. Humans were not just surviving. They were organizing, adapting, and preparing for the long fight. "Then that's our plan," he said. "We rise not alone, but together. Humans will hunt smarter, faster, and stronger than ever before." The first step was recruitment. Hunters moved through Aurelia's streets, seeking individuals who had survived encounters with the monsters or who possessed unique skills. Engineers who could build traps, scouts with unmatched speed, former soldiers with combat experience, and even ordinary citizens who refused to be prey. Every new recruit was trained, tested, and integrated into the growing network. Kale oversaw the training personally. These creatures are not like humans. They think faster, move faster, and react instinctively. But humans can plan, communicate, and adapt. That's our advantage. You learn their behavior, predict their moves, and strike together. That's how we win. The network began to operate smoothly. Hunters communicated through hidden channels, sharing sightings, strategies, and warnings. Every night, patrols moved through the streets, tunnels, and ruins. Every night, humans learned more about their adversaries, and every night, monsters adapted. But the hunters adapted faster. One evening, a report came from Sector 22. A massive creature, unlike anything seen before, had been spotted near an abandoned subway station. Kyle assembled a strike team, including Rin, Leora, and several newly trained hunters. As they moved through the station, the air grew colder, the shadows thicker. The faint sound of water dripping echoed like distant footsteps. Kale motioned for silence. Remember the plan. Light it, trap it, strike together. No mistakes. The creature emerged, a massive, hulking shadow with multiple limbs and glowing amber eyes. It moved with terrifying speed, striking at hunters before they could react. But this time, Kale's team was ready. Lights flashed, nets deployed, and hunters moved in perfect coordination. The battle was fierce. The creature's attacks were precise, testing their limits. But humans had something monsters lacked: ingenuity under pressure. Kyle and Rin used the environment to their advantage, luring the creature into narrow tunnels where its size became a liability. Leora manipulated energy pulses, disorienting it long enough for the hunters to strike in unison. Finally, the creature collapsed, restrained by nets and traps. Kale knelt beside it, catching his breath. "Humans fight smart," he said, voice firm. "That's why we survive. That's why we rise." Back at the base, the victory boosted morale. Hunters shared stories of their encounters, analyzed their tactics, and learned from every mistake. Kale emphasized the importance of observation, adaptation, and unity. But the success did not go unnoticed. The Watchers, silent observers for centuries, began paying closer attention. They had seen countless species struggle and fail, countless civilizations fall. Yet humans, with their ingenuity and courage, were different. Every battle, every strategy, every sacrifice was proof that humans could rise above impossible odds. Kale knew the challenges were far from over. The alpha creatures, the leaders of the monsters, were still out there, more intelligent and dangerous than anything his hunters had faced. And as the monsters adapted, so too would they need to adapt, faster than ever before. One night, a scout brought urgent news. Multiple monsters had been spotted converging in the industrial district. Kale called an emergency meeting. "This is not a simple hunt," he said. "They're coordinating. They're learning from each other. If we face them separately, we lose. We strike together, as one. Every sector, every hunter, every strategy must be synchronized. Humans must rise as a single force." The preparation took days. Hunters moved through the city, setting traps, reinforcing tunnels, and coordinating patrols. Leora monitored the monsters' movements, predicting their paths and behaviors. Rin trained new recruits in combat and quick decision-making. Kyle oversaw every detail, ensuring that humans were ready for the confrontation ahead. When the night came, the hunters moved with precision. They struck at the monsters from all sides, guiding them into traps and ambushes. The creatures, though powerful and intelligent, were unprepared for the humans' coordination. Every attack was met with countermeasures, every move anticipated, every weakness exploited. The battle raged through the industrial district, echoing with the clash of claws and weapons, the hum of energy pulses, and the shouts of hunters. Kyle led from the front, striking with precision and guiding his team through the chaos. Rin fought fiercely, protecting his comrades and exploiting openings in the monsters' attacks. Leora manipulated light and energy, creating distractions and traps that turned the tide. Hours passed, The hunters were pushed to their limits, but their preparation and unity allowed them to prevail. One by one, the monsters fell, trapped, or driven back into the shadows. By dawn, the industrial district was secure. Humans had proven that even against overwhelming odds, they could rise, adapt, and triumph. In the aftermath, Kale addressed his team. Tonight, we showed the city, and the Watchers, that humans are not prey. We are hunters. We are protectors. We are proof that courage, intelligence, and unity can overcome any threat. The hunters returned to their base, exhausted but triumphant. The city above remained unaware of the full scale of the battle, but below, the humans had risen. They had faced superior strength, unmatched speed, and intelligence, yet they had survived, adapted, and succeeded. Kale stood at the entrance of the base, looking out at the city. The neon lights flickered in the early morning haze, unaware of the humans who had claimed victory in the shadows. He knew the monsters would not stop. They would return, smarter, stronger, and more determined. But so would humans. The Watchers are watching, Kale said quietly, almost to himself. And they will see what humans can do. We are not just survivors. We are hunters. And we will continue to rise. As the sun rose over Aurelia, casting light over the city's towers and streets, Kale and his team prepared for the next hunt. The monsters were still out there, lurking, watching, and learning. But humans had proven that they could fight, think, and adapt. They had risen. And nothing, not even creatures designed to hunt, could take that away from them. The city slept, oblivious to the dangers below. Shadows moved silently in the alleys, and eyes glowed in the darkness. But the hunters were ready. They had learned, trained, and risen. Humans had become the predators of the night, the masters of strategy, and the protectors of their own kind. And somewhere far above, the Watchers observed, intrigued and silent. As humanity continued to rise against the impossible, proving that brains, courage, and unity could triumph where strength alone failed. The city of Aurelia was quiet, but the silence was deceptive. Deep below the streets, in abandoned factories and forgotten tunnels, the monsters were gathering. Rumors of coordinated attacks spread through the hunters' network. Kale Draven knew that this was no ordinary hunt. This was a challenge unlike any they had faced before, a test not just of skill, but of strategy, unity, and human ingenuity. Kyle stood on a high balcony overlooking the base, his eyes scanning the network of tunnels and streets below. Around him, hunters prepared for the coming confrontation. Their weapons were sharpened, traps ready, and minds focused. Every member of the network knew the stakes. If they failed, the monsters would claim the city, and humanity would suffer unimaginable losses. "We've trained for this," Kyle said, addressing his team. "We know their patterns, we know their weaknesses, but now they've learned too. They will coordinate, test us, and attack as one. We cannot act separately. We strike as a single force. Humans fight together, humans adapt together, and humans win together. Remember that." Rin Kaleson stepped forward, gripping his blade tightly. "We've hunted them before. We've learned from them. And now, it's time to show them what humans can do when we work as one. They will not break us. We will rise." Leora Ven, surrounded by screens and scanners, added, "I've mapped their approach routes. Energy readings show movement in every sector. They're fast, but their coordination has a pattern. If we anticipate their paths, we can channel them into traps, confuse them, and take control." Kyle nodded. "Then we do exactly that. Tonight, humans will not just survive. We will hunt." As darkness fell over Aurelia, hunters moved through the streets, tunnels, and ruins, taking positions according to the plan. Each sector had leaders, all connected by communication devices and visual signals. Every hunter knew their role: to observe, trap, attack, and support. No room for error, no room for hesitation. From the shadows, the monsters emerged, hundreds of them, moving with terrifying speed and intelligence. Their glowing eyes scanned the streets, seeking prey. But this time, the humans were ready. The first encounter occurred near the industrial district. hunters triggered energy pulses and light traps, forcing creatures into narrow streets where their speed became a disadvantage. Rin led a team that drove monsters into reinforced nets, while Kale and others struck with spears and blades from hidden positions. The battle was fierce. The monsters attacked with precision, testing the humans' defenses. But the hunters responded quickly, coordinating attacks and adapting to each creature's strategy. Kale observed carefully, adjusting the team's movements, exploiting every weakness and reinforcing traps on the fly. "This is it," he shouted. "Push them back. Remember, every move counts." Leora manipulated devices from the command center, creating diversions, illuminating pathways, and disorienting the monsters. Her quick thinking allowed hunters to take control of the streets, forcing creatures to retreat into areas prepared for ambush. Hours passed, and the battle moved through the city. Hunters moved like shadows, striking with speed and precision. Every attack, every trap, every decision was coordinated. Humans were not just surviving, they were dominating. Then came the alpha creatures, the leaders, more massive and intelligent than any the humans had faced before. Their eyes glowed like molten fire, their movements calculated and swift. They struck with devastating power, tearing through traps and attacking hunters directly. Kale faced one alpha in a narrow alley. The creature lunged, claws extended, but Kale anticipated the move, sidestepping and striking with precision. The alpha hissed in frustration, its intelligence evident in its calculated attacks. Kale's heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He guided it into a trap, where other hunters struck from hidden positions, binding it with reinforced energy nets. Rin faced another alpha in the tunnels. The creature's speed was terrifying, but Rin used the environment to his advantage, forcing it into narrow passages where its size became a liability. With a coordinated strike from the team, the alpha fell, restrained but alive. As the night wore on, hunters methodically cornered the remaining creatures, exploiting weaknesses discovered through months of observation and experimentation. Every human acted as a part of a larger system, anticipating attacks, communicating silently, and adapting instantly. By dawn, the city was quiet again. The monsters had been driven back, captured, or forced to retreat into hiding. Humans had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious. The streets, tunnels, and ruins were littered with signs of battle, but the hunters had survived, and the city had been protected. Kyle stood on a rooftop, looking out over Aurelia. The sun rose slowly, painting the city in gold and orange light. He felt pride, not just in the victories, but in what humanity had proven. "We did it," he said quietly. "Humans fought together, adapted together, and won together. The monsters were strong, but humans are stronger when we work as one." Leora joined him, her scanner in hand. "And we've learned so much. Every attack, every movement. We've collected data that will make us even stronger next time. Humans are not just hunters. We're masters of strategy, adaptation, and survival." Rin approached, his blade sheathed. "The Watchers. They've been watching all along. I think they're impressed. They've seen every battle, every move, and now they know that humans do not need them to survive. We've proven it." Kale nodded. "Yes, the Watchers have watched for centuries, testing countless species. But humans? We are different. We can plan, adapt, and rise above impossible odds. We are hunters, survivors, and protectors. And this city is ours to defend." The network of hunters continued to grow, spreading across Aurelia. Humans no longer feared the shadows. They controlled them. Monsters had learned to fear humans, adapting their movements to avoid encounters, respecting the intelligence and coordination of the species they had once considered prey. Somewhere above, the Watchers observed silently. They had witnessed countless civilizations rise and fall, countless species fight and fail. Yet humanity had shown them something extraordinary, the ability to think, adapt, and unite against impossible odds. Not through strength alone, not through divine intervention, but through courage, intelligence, and unity. Kyle looked at his team one last time. We've fought, we've adapted, and we've risen. But this is only the beginning. The monsters are still out there, and new threats will come. But humanity has proven itself. We will continue to hunt, protect, and survive. No god, no monster, no force can stop us when we act together. The city of Aurelia woke that morning, oblivious to the battles fought in its streets and tunnels. But below, in the shadows, humans had risen. They were no longer prey. They were hunters, defenders, and masters of their destiny. And somewhere, far above, the Watchers leaned closer. For the first time, they did not just observe, they acknowledged. Humanity had proven itself worthy of survival, worthy of challenge, and worthy of the attention of the gods themselves. Kale stood tall, looking at the rising sun. The hunt would continue, and the monsters would return, but humans would always rise to meet them. Brains, courage, and unity had triumphed over strength, fear, and darkness. The city was safe, for now. And the hunters of Aurelia knew that humanity's greatest weapon was not its weapons, not its speed, not even its courage, but its ability to rise together, fight together, and survive together. The world had changed, the monsters had learned, and the Watchers had witnessed. And in the shadows of Aurelia, humanity had earned its place. The hunters had risen. Humanity had risen.